Hello, Sister Shreya. I'm very happy to meet you today, and I'm very excited about this podcast. So, Sister, you have conducted many seminars, workshops on life skills. Out of curiosity, how did you get into this?
Om Shanti, it's wonderful to meet you finally. And how did I get into this stage? Well, many years ago, I knew about Brahma Kumaris. I knew about this spiritual education, but I was not very interested in it. And like all of us at some point do get, go through these internal struggles. So similarly, I had no external struggle. There was nothing very problematic in my life. But there was a point when I felt that I wasn't feeling very happy and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. And then I felt, that search for truth. I felt I need to study spirituality. I need to understand myself. I need to understand what's going on within. We know everything about what's going on outside in the world, but we need to really take out time and understand our thoughts, our feelings, our habits, because that is what is causing pain and sorrow. We tend to blame other people, we tend to complain, we want to blame a situation or people for what I am going through. But then I realized when I started understanding spirituality that it was nobody else, it was my thinking, and it was some of my sanskars of comparison, of feeling inferior, of having low self respect, which was causing that pain. And that's how the journey started when I was in college, and it's been a wonderful journey. Spirituality is a mirror to your weakness, and you need to be detached to see those weaknesses and then have the courage to transform them. And the more you transform, the more you feel liberated.
I love that you said that spirituality is a mirror to your weaknesses. Beautiful. I have questions on various themes for you today, sister, that everyone would have faced at some point in their life. So, going straight into the deep end, there are people whose closed ones are terminally ill. You know that they're not going to be around for long. So, how do we overcome the fear of death of our loved ones? How do we accept death as a part of life, like especially for that period, which is very emotionally exhausting, knowing that the loved one is not going to be around for long?
The moment I understand that somebody I really love, and if you're saying they're terminally ill, which means they are already in a lot of pain, their body is going through a lot of suffering, and what they need at this point of time is a lot of love, lot of courage, lot of support. Now, for a moment, just understand that I am somebody who is taking care of them. And if I truly love them, what I want to radiate to them is love. But if I am experiencing a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, I am feeling that what will happen once they leave, then what I am radiating to them is also a lot of pain and a lot of fear. That vibration I am radiating to them. And in a way, I'm just increasing their suffering. I have to understand that if I really love them, I have to first take care of myself. And in order to take care of myself, what I can do is remind myself that the person who is in front of me is just not a body, but actually they're a being. Now we use this word human being. So when somebody is terminally ill and we know that sooner or later they will pass away, so what actually dies is just the body. Soul is on a journey, and a relationship is with the soul, it's not with the body. So even if somebody changes the costume, because what is that? It's just the change of dress and address. That relationship still exists, and whatever you're going to think about them, that vibration is still going to radiate to them. Actually, nobody ever dies. They only change the costume. They just change the address and they continue to play another role. So we have to take care of ourselves. We have to radiate love and compassion so that when they are suffering, our love and compassion, it makes it easier for them. And at some point, if you think they are really ill, this costume is not supporting them, then I feel it may sound very difficult. It is good to even hold their hand and say, it is okay. Sometimes the soul is ready to leave, but our attachment does not allow them to leave. And because of our attachment, they're suffering in their body. So sometimes to just go close to them, to hold their hand, to tell them, we are okay. We are going to take care of ourselves. We are fine. You continue your own journey. That also heals them a lot and allows them to kind of heal faster or move on.
So, sister, not just for those who are terminally ill, like even the thought of your parents, your children, your loved ones not being there tomorrow and you just living without them is terrifying. And what you said is that, you should not see the body, but you should think that, yeah, we are the soul and the soul is on a journey. After knowing that, how do you still overcome the fear of somebody who's living with you is not going to be there tomorrow? And I do think that it's less that we are scared for the person who's dying, that's
I'm
there as
scared
well.
for ourselves.
We are scared, exactly, we're scared for ourselves, and how will we live without that person?
Because we're dependent on them.
Yeah.
We're dependent on them. And more than that, we're emotionally dependent on them.
Hmm.
All other dependencies we can overcome. We can overcome the financial dependencies, we can overcome physical dependencies. At certain point of time we overcome those, but that emotional dependencies is something that we're not able to overcome. So we feel we get love from them, we get respect for them, we get security from them, some sense of protection. And when they leave, how will I live alone? And that is where we have to understand that our eternal connection is with the Supreme Father, God, who is eternal. Actually, when I have connection with the One who is ocean of love, who is ocean of purity, who is ocean of happiness, and I take everything from Him. Because here the purpose of relationship is not to take, actually. When we are taking from people, then gradually we start have expectations from them. When our expectations are not fulfilled, we are hurt. When we are hurt, we tend to hurt them. It gets complicated.
Right.
And in those relationships, sometimes they become very sour, in the sense sometimes you would have realized that love hate relationship, the people if you think about those people who've given you most happiness,
Hmm.
and a certain name will pop up, and then you think about those people from whom you've received maximum sorrow, and sometimes they tend to be the same people
Yeah.
because there is so much attachment. So I feel the purpose of relationship is not to take, the purpose of relationship is to give, and you can only give when you are full. So the purpose is that I am the being of light and I take from Supreme Being every single day. I have that connection with my Father. I take from there, I am full, and then I radiate. And then when I radiate to not one, to all. So then I have a very, very loving relationship with the close ones, with the words, but there is not fear, because I know that sooner or later anybody, this is the truth, that whoever comes in my life, one day they will leave also. But when I'm attached, attached to anything, when I hold on to something, then what's happened? They're going to leave one day.
Yeah.
But the time that I spend with them is also spent in fear. When I'm attached to something, whenever there's an attachment, there's fear, there's an element of fear. I'm attached. So there's this always that one thought that I may not lose them. What if I lose them? What if I lose them? You may lose them after 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, but that thought is there with you. And when there is fear, love blocks. The
Right.
energy of love cannot flow. So there can be either fear or there can either be love. So if you're very, very fearful, then those 10, 20, 30 years also you radiate a lot of fear. So if you're attached to something, in the journey there is fear.
Hmm.
And one day when you're going to lose that person or position or profession or anything that you've acquired, there's going to be a lot of pain. So that's what attachment is. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of pain. So true relationships are not about attachment. It's true love, where you take from the Supreme Being and you radiate that love and respect and happiness to those people. And in the process, you're the first one to receive, because when you're giving, you're the first person to feel, you're creating it within you, you're the first person to experience that love, that happiness, that joy. Then you radiate it to them, they get it from you, and then according to law, what you give comes back.
Yeah.
So
But
you get
then,
it twice.
right. Then, so what would you say for a mother daughter or a son father or a son mother relationship where you are just naturally attached and you love your parents, right? So as they grow older, you would have that, you would always want that, you wish that they have a very healthy, happy life, and you somewhere at the back of your mind wish that nothing happens to them. I mean, is it wrong to have expectations, or how do you detach yourself from that for your parents, for instance?
It's good to be in the moment
Mm-hmm.
and not think too much about future. Because if you think about future even in the negative terms, in the sense, what if this happens, what if that happens, when we see people around us falling ill, there is a friend who tells us their mother had a brain stroke, something, anything,
Yeah.
and you start then assuming all of that in your life, but then what you're going to think will manifest.
Hmm. Right.
You can't think anything. And that is where the power of mind comes. That is what the power of mind is, that you tell your mind to think right no matter what. Because when you think right and your mind is powerful, then even if some situation comes, you will have the strength to face it. But
Okay.
if you're thinking of all the catastrophe that can happen and all the negative things that can happen, and if you assume future to be filled with all the tragedies, then one, you are becoming weak every single day, because if you're thinking that and you're feeling that you're experiencing a lot of fear, then you're not in the moment and you're not very powerful.
Right.
And God forbid, if something happens, you will not have the power and courage to face it. So it's not a very good thing to kind of anticipate all these things.
Hmm.
Secondly, but you would say, no, no, we have to be practical. Something like this can happen. Okay. Even if you want to go to an extreme where you say, okay, something like this can happen, then see yourself. If something like this happens, then how are you? The first thing, you're very stable. The
Okay.
second thing, you're doing everything that needs to be done. The third thing, you are detached but very, very loving. See yourself playing that role. When you see yourself playing that role, you have created a sanskar here, an imprint here.
Hmm.
Then when if something happens, that sanskar will automatically emerge. You know how, I don't know about Ireland, but in India, whenever these children have board exams,
Yeah.
so before the board exams, I don't know what they call, something, few months back, they create the same environment, the same
Hmm.
hall, the same, there's everything
Like
same, same,
mock,
same.
something like a
Mock,
mock exam. Yeah.
a prelim kind of thing, a mock exam. And what they're trying to do is give them an experience so that when the real thing happens,
Hmm.
because a lot of people feel, uneasy and there's
Yeah.
something in the stomach, and all of this happening before a board exam, which
Yeah.
is not a very big thing now, we realize.
Yeah. True.
But in that moment, it's a very big thing for them. So when they have already done that, gone through that, they're not fearful anymore.
Hmm.
Similarly, if you really fear something, I think it's good to overcome that fear. कि अच्छा
Yeah.
ठीक है, if this happens, then this is going to be my response. So instead of thinking about the tragedy,
Yeah.
instead of thinking about what's going to go wrong, think how you're going to respond in that situation. That will take away the fear.
Right. No, that's beautiful.